Okay, we are going to begin here. Welcome everybody to today's event. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and we're here for a session about BI 360 and its BI intelligence, its BI suite. As we get started here, please know that our presenters today, Mike Kimbrough and Scott Bennett, will be making time for questions at the end. So please do enter yours at any point throughout the session using the Q&A block you should see just to the right of the main presentation area. We will be taking those at the end, but enter them at any point. And with that, let's get things started. I'm going to hand things off to Mike to begin. I'm sorry, I'm going to hand things off to Scott to begin.
No problem, Jason. Thank you, Jason, and thanks to Microsoft Dynamics World for hosting today's event. And of course, thank you to you guys for attending. My name's Scott Bennett. I'm a channel manager with Solver based here in Asia Pacific. And joining us on the line today, as Jason pointed out, is Mike Kimbrough, who's the managing director for the Asia Pacific operation. So first things first, let's just have a quick run through what we have planned for today's session. You guys will be pleased to hear that we're not going to be spending too much time in PowerPoint during this webinar, but there are maybe 2 or 3 key slides that are worth going through to set the scene in regards to what you're about to see with BI 360. So first things first, we're going to give you a quick run through the background of Solver and an overview of our solution. And then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty around the BI 360 reporting tool. And pretty exciting because we're going to be demonstrating our new BI 360 cloud product, which will hopefully be of interest to you guys. So we'll be able to show you a few report examples, show you how we build a report using our report design tool. We're also going to spend a little bit of time looking at our advanced consolidations functionality and outlining how we would handle other data sources as part of our BI 360 solution. And just to close off, we're going to give you a short 5-minute preview of the BI 360 budgeting product, which will be setting up our next webinar, which we're going to be hosting next month. And then, as Jason said, there'll be some time for questions at the end as well. So first things first, if you guys haven't heard of Solver, it might be worth me just setting the scene. We've been working with reporting and budgeting solutions now for over 20 years. If you've been in the industry for a while or been using finance and BI tools for a long time, you may be familiar with a couple of products that we originally developed. Products like Enterprise Reporting, which was ultimately acquired by Microsoft, and a product called Excel Reporter, which was developed by Solver, which was picked up by SAP. So BI 360, the product you're about to see today, has been on the market now for 6 years. It's by far our most successful product, and it is a comprehensive solution around reporting, budgeting, and data warehousing. If you're familiar with the Gartner Magic Quadrant, you'll see us in there for 3 years running. If not, the Gartner Magic Quadrant is the holy grail for the software industry, so it's quite a big deal to be featured in there, and we've been present for the last 3 years. So within a short space of time, as I say, 6 years, we've managed to amass over 2,000 plus customers across the globe. And just to give you an idea of some of those customers, they pretty much span most industries. So you're looking at everything from healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, not-for-profit, you name it, we've got customers across that industry. Okay, so you'll notice here some very well-known names, but it's worth pointing out that BI 360 is aimed at everything from an SME all the way up to an enterprise-level organization. Okay, so you'll notice we've got some pretty exciting names on there, for instance, things like New Zealand Rugby, and LA Lakers and Broncos, and some pretty cool names behind us. So when it comes to reference sites, we aren't short on that front. Okay, so just quickly before we jump into the demonstration, as I promised, there's only 2 or 3 slides. We like to get into the demonstration as soon as possible. So to recap, BI 360 is a comprehensive reporting and budgeting solution, and it is designed to work out of the box with all Microsoft Dynamics products, whether that's SL, GP, NAV, or AX, even the latest editions of Dynamics 365. We have out-of-the-box integrations available with BI 360. So reporting and budgeting, all designed using our BI 360 Excel design tool. So if you know Excel, you're 70% of the way there. And then delivered via the BI 360 web portal for sharing and collaboration across an organization. Okay? So taking a look at it here, on-premise deployments live into the Dynamics application. Example, you're running Dynamics GP, it's on-premise, you want BI 360. We can query that database directly using our out-of-the-box integration. So when you're reporting off Dynamics, it is live. Any transactions that are entered into GP are instantly available to report off using BI 360. And the same goes when we talk about a Dynamics application hosted in the private cloud. We have a direct live connection, very easy to report off. Ultimately the same result with public cloud, but a little bit different in terms of how we get there due to the way in which the public cloud is deployed. So for instance, if someone is running Dynamics 365, obviously it's not possible for us to go direct into the database there to query it due to the way the product's deployed. So in those scenarios, what we would do is we would pull that data into our cloud data warehouse and then report off it that way. Okay, so same result, just a slightly different way in terms of how we go about getting that data. All right, one thing that's worth us focusing on today is our advanced consolidations tool. So within our data warehouse solution, we have an advanced consolidations module for managing everything from intercompany eliminations, multiple currencies, and minority ownerships. And of course, the important thing to bear in mind there is anything that sits outside of your Microsoft Dynamics application, whether it be a HR payroll system or an old proprietary solution, we can bring all of that data into our data warehouse and then report off it using the same BI 360 tool. So it's a very comprehensive solution available across all deployment methods and designed to take care of not only Dynamics, but any data outside of that product as well. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's BI 360. And on that note, I don't want to keep you guys from the demonstration any longer. I'm going to hand over to Mike Kimbrough, who's going to take us through the product.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott.
No problem.
Okay, welcome everyone. I have logged in with my username and password into the BI 360 5.0 web portal. What you're looking at is you're looking at the home page, and this is, I'll spend a minute on this because I think it's kind of important. It's something, if you've ever seen the BI 360 product in the past and seen the current web portal, you'd know we don't have this, but it's kind of a cool little tool. What it allows me to do is it allows me to do messages across the company. It allows me to, as a user, to be able to get support on the fly if I need it. If I wanted to put in any recent updates or information about reports or budget templates or policies or procedures, or the budget season starting, or year-end financials are ready, whatever that might be, I'm capable of doing that. The other thing that's kind of cool about this is that I can also bring in videos. So if I were to record a group of videos, let's say training videos, for my team on how to build reports or how to run specific types of reports or contribute to the budget process, I could add in different categories and place those videos within those different categories. So kind of cool just to get us started. So I'm going to start off today with live reporting. So what you'll notice here is that I have all of the reports, and live reporting means as a user, I can change parameters within the reports and I can drill down into those reports. This is my report library, so I could kind of scroll through here and find the report that I'm looking for. Once I find the report, I just simply select that report. And now I'm looking at my modern profit and loss, and you can see as a user, I have the ability to change the parameters for this information. So if I said I wanted to choose a different entity for the report, I could simply come in and say, you know, I'd like to see Canada and corporate Asia as well. And then I can simply just rerun the report, and it's going to bring back those results for the report. Now, this is kind of the first step in the consolidation process, and what that did is it consolidated all of those companies into one report. But as I'll show you later, I can also separate those companies out into separate columns or put them on separate tabs, and I can do things like reporting trees to be able to report on the hierarchical structure of my organization. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So the other thing that I can do kind of with this report is you'll notice, by the way, that it looks very indicative of what you'd find in Excel. And in fact, I could actually go into the settings if I said I wanted to show the header and row column headers. So I can do that if you wanted. I kind of like a cleaner look where I just hide those. So you can see that if you were going to print the report, you might want to hide them. But you'll also notice in this report that I have expansion groups, right? Again, this report's very Excel-like. This report was built inside of Excel and then uploaded into the web portal, and I'm going to show you that process shortly. So again, I have the graphs, I have the expansion groups, I have the ability as a user to be able to drill down on information. So if I wanted to know more about what makes up the sales expenses, I can simply right-click, and you can see that I have two drill downs in here. These are definable by the person that builds the report as to what level you'd want me to drill down to. If I select my general ledger detail, you'll see that that detail is now available for me to view almost instantaneously. And then I can just pop right back into the report and go through the remainder of the body of the report. I can also add in all that typical Excel stuff, right? Conditional formatting. Here I've got in-cell graph information. I could do traffic lights or what have you. I can also make this report not just a financial report, but I could also add in statistical information. So here you see headcount. I could have put in square footage as well. Really, I can put in anything, any type piece of data that I have across my organization, not only what's in my Dynamics ERP, but any piece of information, other data sources, HR, payroll, project systems, manufacturing systems, proprietary systems, any piece of data that you have across your organization, I can bring it into BI 360 into the data warehouse and report off of it. Okay? So some cool things to do with this is that I can export to Excel. So as a user, if I wanted to export this to Excel, you'll see it says open with Excel, brings up the report, and automatically I don't really need to do anything. I now have a static report automatically formatted for me in Excel within just a few seconds. Okay, I can't drill down to this. Obviously, I can't change the parameters, but it's a static report in Excel. Close that out. I'll go back into BI 360 tool. The other thing that I can do is I can also assign this report to users. So if I said I wanted to assign this off to different users, I could simply come in and select this and say Scott wants to receive this report, and then I could simply share this report with him, and he would have that report immediately available to him. Another thing that I can do is I can archive this report. So if I wanted to send this to an archive user, an archive user is someone that has the ability to run these reports. It will give them the detail. They'll be able to drill down, but they won't be able to change the parameters that you see up here. So in other words, I've basically run this report in the company that I want them to see, in the period that I want them to see, and also in the budget scenario. And then they'll be able to just open that report up and then drill down into the information. And the way that would work is I just simply say I want to archive this report. Oops, sorry, I did the wrong one there. I want to archive this report, and you'll see that it pops up. I had already previously assigned it. That's why it said, do I want to overwrite that? So now you'll see that when I'm in this report, that report has been archived. And I'll cover archive in a minute. You can see that there's a tab over here on the left-hand side. We'll come back to that shortly, and I'll show you that that report was sent out to me. Now, I could have sent this out to any users, but this will be sent to me so I don't have to log out and log back into my existing user. So that's kind of reporting. from a live reporting perspective. And I'm going to show you a couple of other examples in here as well. So when I go back to the reporting menu, you'll notice that I also have all of these categories. I can define these categories. So if I said, just show me all of my consolidation reports, you'll see now that all of the reports that will come up will be related to consolidation. So the user can easily define these categories to make it easier to find their reports. So if I said, I'd like to look at this consolidated report, multi-tab with the tree, I can simply run that report. We kind of covered two birds here with one stone, if you will. We're going to be able to show you both consolidations and other types of reports. So you can see different types of reports, and this report is also a consolidation report. And what's different about this report, and I'll close the parameters here over there, is that now I have all of my information set up into, for my company set up into separate tabs. So I ran this report for my Asia region. If I kind of highlight this, my Asia region has two organizations underneath it. That's Corporate Asia and Corporate EMEA, right? So when I want to see that information, you notice on the Asia region side that it's consolidated, but if I go into Corporate Asia, the data is specific to Corporate Asia, and then I can also go into Corporate EMEA and I can see that data instantaneously, okay? Again, with these reports, I can drill down into these reports, I can edit them, I can do all of that type of stuff. Another way of being able to do that, aside from just using multiple tabs, is I can also put my companies in separate columns. So here I'll show you a consolidating net income report. It also has eliminations. And you'll notice that my companies are in separate columns. And you'll see that I've, like you saw before, I've selected the companies that I wanted to run it for. So you see I have corporate US, Canada, and Asia. And those companies will automatically dynamically expand the number of companies that I've selected and provide me that information in separate columns. Now these could also be in separate currencies. So I could have my Asia company in, let's say the Thai baht, I could have Canadian dollars, and then I could have US dollars. And if you're doing eliminations, if you've got those customers, or if you are a customer that has a lot of companies and you're doing eliminations, BI 360 will allow you to do auto eliminations, and it will also allow you to do manual adjustments for your elimination process. So by adding this elimination column in here, it's kind of a check and balance, and it lets me know that I have no balance for elimination, so that's good, nothing to tend to. And then I can also add a consolidated column as well. Now this consolidated column could convert these currencies into a separate currency if I wanted to. So again, it's quite powerful to be able to do that. And again, you can see I can scroll down and see the body of the report. And other things that you can do is you can build these expansion groups at like the department level or the category level. Obviously, you know I can drill down, but I might just want to condense the report, but have some on-the-fly flexibility to be able to expand those groups to be able to see more detail. So kind of cool there as well. So I'm going to pop back in. I think you kind of generally get the idea. I'm going to pop back into my financial reports here. I'm going to pick that same modern P&L. Actually, you know, before I do that, I'm going to go into the archive section. I apologize. I'm going to go in the archive. I'll come back and build in just a second, but I want to make sure everybody, since I've already archived this report, I want to make sure that everybody sees that. So as an archive user, I would come in. The archive user could simply be the only tab that they would see. So an archive user means somebody's presented these reports for me. Here you can see that I have a new report for that P&L Modern that I just recently assigned. The user can then just double-click the report or select the report and run whatever reports that they want. Now, what you'll notice about this report now is I don't have any parameters. I can still drill down in here, but you can see I have the drill downs, but I can't change any parameters. So the parameters for the report were already set for me. Again, I can get rid of the column and row headers if I want. I can print this report, or I can download this report to Excel. So pretty clean on the fly. And the other thing that I can do inside the archive is I can create playlists. So here you'll notice that I have two separate playlists. If I went to my month-end financials, you'll notice that these are the reports that are part of my month-end financials, but I can also show that playlist. So again, as an end user, if you were passing out board reports or management reports at the end of a period, this is a great way to do it. So here I'm looking at that same report that I had before, but I've also got other reports as part of that book, and I can just pop those reports up and quickly and simply run them just by selecting them. Right? So here you see now profit and loss. It's multi-currency, and it's just quick and easy to get to it. And again, you can change the look and feel, especially if you're going to print this, on how it looks on the screen. Okay? So going back into reporting, let's talk a little bit about how we would go about editing a report. So I'll use that same profit and loss as an example. So I can select this report, and I could say that I would like to edit this report. So there's probably something I want to change in here. There's a number of different ways that I could go about this. One is that I could duplicate this report. So I could create a profit and loss. Let's say I didn't want to have this actual month last year column. I could duplicate this report. It'll open up in Excel. I could remove this column and save it. Now I've got a different variation of that report. So I could call it profit and loss, without last year data, right? So version number 2, very easy to do. Now the edit process is quite simple. So if I said I want to edit this report, you'll notice that it automatically pops up into Excel, and I didn't have to do anything to make that happen. So what it's going to do here is it's going to automatically pop up into the design mode, and I'm going to expand this out so you can see it a little bit better. It's going to pop up into the design mode. So here you see all of the modules across my organization. So remember that I have all of my Dynamics information in here, right? So I've got my general ledger, accounts receivable, maybe my projects are coming from Dynamics. But I also have things like Google Analytics, maybe my payrolls, a third-party payroll that's outside of Dynamics. Again, I can have any piece of data that I want across my organization available for me to build reports. And the report design I'll get to in a minute, but just showing you that all that reporting information is available, I can then start to edit and modify this report. So let's just say in this case scenario, we're going to do something quick and easy. The person that asked me for this report, they didn't like the color of the report header, so they just asked me to change it. Something very simple. I make the change. All I have to do is say save when I'm inside of Excel, and it says report draft successfully uploaded. So I say, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and close this out. And if I go back into my web portal, you'll see that it says report changes detected. You need to refresh the page. I say refresh. I have to rerun that report. Notice it gave me a blank screen. So when I rerun that report that's now in my live reporting library, you'll see that it reflects that change. Now you can see that the profit and loss total has been, profit and loss column header has been changed to a different color. Right? So quite easy to be able to go and make changes on the fly if you are, in fact, a report designer. So there's a difference between report users and report designers. So I'm going to close that out and still stay on live reporting, but you'll notice again that I'm back into my reporting library. And one other thing that I can talk to you about as well. So if I were to select a report, I can also select this report, and by selecting it, what it's going to allow me to do is to duplicate it. You see where it says duplicate? So there's things that I can do without actually even opening up the report. But what if I want to build a new report? So let's talk about building a new report for you. I'm simply going to say build a new report. It's going to ask me what do I want to call this report, and I'll call this Mike's trial balance, and I say create. And what that's now doing is it's opening up Excel basically with a blank page. And sorry, you might not be able to see some of these headers, column and row headers in the layout editor. I think that's a WebEx issue. It's kind of shrinking things down a little bit, but no problem. we will work around it. So I have a blank sheet with all of my data from my data warehouse in BI360, blank sheet in Excel, and you know that I'm in the report writer, and I have the ability now to go and build these reports however I want. And here at the top, you can see that I have my BI360 add-in. That's the tool that you're seeing here. So I'm going to start formatting my report. So make a little bit, I'll put the header in here. And just do a little bit more of the standard Excel stuff that you would do. Right, and if it doesn't look, if I'm guessing on the headers and they're too wide or they don't look right, it's no big deal. I can change them at any point in time. So I'll start putting in my headers for my columns. And I'm going to build you just a simple trial balance, just given the amount of time that we have today. So obviously, I'm in my general ledger, and I am trying to pull this down. And I am going to open up my general ledger, and I'm going to pull in my account. So as soon as I pull in my account, it's asking me, how do I want to create a new selection group? Do I want to do that across the row, down the column, or not at all? You can tell by my headers, I'm going across the row. As soon as I do that, it highlights that row. It brought my account into the layout editor, and it's asking me, what accounts do I want to include? So I can do all kinds of things in here. I can say, I want these, but not this one or this one. So I can do selection. I can use ranges that say, show me all my 4,000 accounts. I can also use roll-ups. I can create an unlimited number of roll-ups. So I could have a roll-up that says roll-up number 1 is revenue, roll-up number 2 is revenue minus service revenue. I can create this however I want. So what I'll do in here is I'll just select a bunch of accounts, and we'll just say we'll go down to this square footage, say OK. So now I've got plenty of data that's going to come in. Now I need to bring in the description of my account. Where am I going to find that? It's just an attribute of account, right? So here you see my account description. I pull that in. I also need to equate this with a point in time, a period. So I will show you that I have periods here with this little period function. And hopefully you guys can see that because it's kind of small down here. Again, that's just a WebEx thing. So in here, I've got all of the periods that I would want to use to be able to build the report. So let's say I pull in year to date. What that's now going to do is filter this entire column on year to date. And maybe I want to pull in last year to date. So we'll pull in last year to date up here as well. And then I can write the standard variance, a standard Excel formula for my variance. And I need an amount, right? And I could have just stayed in the general ledger when I needed the amount. Because that's already part of my general ledger. So if I collapse the account down, I can scroll down here and you will see my annual amounts. I can pull in my annual amount. Standard Excel stuff, I can drag it across. I can write my variance formula. Pretty simple formula. And now I just need to bring in a total. And I need to sum up that total. I don't even need to leave the screen to do that because I can create all these little hot buttons. We see what says more. I can create what I want, but I've already created some, so I can stay right on the screen and be able to drag and drop and filter and total and everything that I need to do. So for all intents and purposes, I just finished the report, but I need to make it look a little bit more like a report. So I'll go up to do all the things you would typically do in Excel, make that bold. And how about we use this color here and a corresponding white. Let's make that bold as well. And I want that total to be right justified. I want this also to be bolded. And how about we do a little column total. Let's make these to put dollars in here as well. And then also comma header. So it looks more like a real report, right? And I could have added in my logos or anything else that I needed. So I can test this report to see what it looks like before I actually save it and put it back out into the portal. I can also, by the way, save this report if I wanted to a folder, but there's really no need for me to do that, right? It's saved in the web portal. I can download it at any time that I want. So I've got to select a period. So I'm going to go into September of 2015. I say OK, and I run that report. I'm going to get a feel for what it looks like. So looks pretty good. Maybe I might want to make some changes here. Let me just scroll down and look at, again, this is sample data, so you don't need to get too concerned. But I have too many decimal points in here. This description's a little wide. Maybe I'd like to left justify the account. No problem. I can just go right back in here, and I can say left justify that. This column's too wide, right? This is all the stuff I need to do before I put it up into the cloud. And now I've made those changes, and I go back into the run side, and I say run that report. Notice it automatically defaulted to the last time I ran it. And now it looks a little bit cleaner. I like it a little bit better. You know, it comes down to preference of how you want things to look. Looks more like a real report. So now I go back into the design mode. All I have to do is say save. It says the report draft successfully uploaded. I'm going to switch back to my web portal, and if I were to come in here, I will find that report where it says Mike's report trial balance, right? And you'll see that it has this little Excel icon. That means that there was a change made and I haven't published this report. So I can run the report, and that means publishing it means I make it available for everybody else. So here I'll run it for that same period you just saw. And there's the report. And I can also say publish, so now it's available for everyone. Now it's available for everyone if I wanted to sign that out to somebody else. So now you see that it gave me more options like archive, history, and everything else. Okay? So that's kind of the reporting in a nutshell from the perspective of how I would build the report, how I would run the reports. Again, I can make this part of a report book. I can send it to archive. I can do all those things. So very, very easy to be able to share these reports. Okay. So I think with that we probably want to just spend about 5 minutes or so just showing budgeting, 5 to 8 minutes showing budgeting. Just so everyone knows this is that budgeting works the same way as reporting from a design perspective. It's the same tool. The difference is that with reporting, you're pulling data. With budgeting, you're not only pulling the data, but you're adding data, you're manipulating that data, and then you're storing that data back. And where are you storing it? You're storing that data into the BI 360 pre-built data warehouse. So I'll spend just a few minutes on budgeting for you. This is just kind of a teaser. We're going to have a separate webinar that will dive a little bit deeper into web-based budgeting. But this is budgeting. It looks just like what you would see with respect to reporting. I've got the different categories that I can select. And by the way, if you have somebody who's contributing to budgeting, they could just simply be an assignment user. So they would have the home page and assignment. All that means is everything that they're going to get is going to be predetermined for them. It's going to be sitting in the assignments tab, and they just go in there and start filling out information. I'll show you how that works here in a second. So if I were to go and find the budget template that I wanted to contribute to, I'll close this just to give us a little bit more real estate. I could simply come in and say that I want to contribute at the account level, right? So very easy to be able to put data in at the account level. But maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to go into this and do a little bit different method. Maybe I want to spread this amount out or add line item detail. And the way that I would, simply the way that I would do that is I'll just come down here to where you see this little spreading and line item details tab, and I select that. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to now see this pop-up, but I don't see the rest of the screen. It's no problem. You can kind of modify it however you want to be able to see the information. So if I went down to the column 18 that I'm in, I can see the net effect changes. So here's my main line. If I were to go in here and say, you know, I'd like to enter an amount in, let's say it's 80,000, and I'd like to spread that, I can also choose the method for which I want to spread this. So here you can see that I've got different types of spreading methods, right? These are really easy to create on the fly, but I'll just use the even method, and if I say spread, you'll see that that is now spread equally across the year. So pretty quick, pretty easy. If I then said, well, let's go into office expenses, and I'd like to do something a little bit different here. I'd like to get into the line item detail. So office expenses, we'll just say paper, and I can start entering in the amounts individually like you saw before, or I can spread that. So if I said, let's make this 7,200 and spread it evenly, you're going to see that it just did that. If I said pens, right, I can put in as much line item detail as I want. Maybe I don't want to do a spread on this one. I just want to go in and put in numbers. We're buying a lot of pens here, by the way. Right? You can see that I have that information. And once that information is entered, I can simply just close this down. And if I go up, you'll see that those changes have taken effect, right? Here I've got some pretty big expenditures for office expenses where I put in 7,000 and did the original spread of 600. So very easy from a budget contribution perspective. As a user, I would just simply say save the data, or I could say finish assignment, which would mean that I was done with my contribution on the budget. So other things that I can do is I can also assign these out in an assignment or a workflow to make it very easy for the contributor. So here you see two different things. One is I have the workflow, so I could create a workflow category for all my contributors, and it has a set group of templates in it. They'll see their information. But then I can also do individual assignments by the user. So it might be something specific to that contributor that's outside of the annual budget workflow. So I went into the annual budget workflow and said, okay, what do I need as an individual contributor? And remember, I could just have this tab. I can come in and see the things that I need to be able to do as an individual user. So I know what templates that I need to contribute to. So I've got a new template in here, and I went in and said, I'd like to do my other expenses, and it opens up the template, and I'm ready to start. I think I opened up a closed assignment. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, I opened up one that's being edited. So here's my assignment. So I went in and said, I want to contribute to my capital expenditure budget. It brings up my capital expenditure budget. And it's ready for me to start contributing. So you can see that I've already saved some data in here, but I can start going through and saying, what am I doing? I'm buying new computers. It's for what department, right? All this is definable. All of this was built inside of Excel. So you can build these templates however you want, but you can see how easy it is to do the contribution, right? And you'll notice that the asset life and everything is automatically calculated because that's being stored somewhere else. So again, pretty powerful from a budget contribution perspective. And again, I could say save the data or finish the assignment, and I'd be done. Last thing that I'll show you in this process is the workflow. So in workflow, you notice this was the budget that I just opened, or the workflow that I just opened up, the assignment. And if I select this, I can do a couple of things. I can look at it from a view perspective, and I can see who it's assigned to. So it's very easy to assign it to my group of users by simply checking the different boxes related to the different templates on who gets what. So here I've got 3 separate users. I can also determine what company they get. All these different parameters are definable. What company they can see, what departments they have access to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, aside from all the security that we have behind this that's working in the background. Or I can simply let the user decide. That means they could choose between the companies that they have access to. So pretty easy to do that. then this is all making the workflow assignment process quite easy. So if I go back into this, I can also say, show me the status. I'd like to see who started what and at what stage it's in. And here you can see that I'm using myself as a user. So I have already started these. There's several different categories that you can add in here, but I've already started the templates, but you can see that other people, John user 1 hasn't started the template yet for personnel. I can also categorize these or filter these by the status or by the individual template or by the user. So if I said, show me John user 1, I'm only going to see the templates related to John user 1, and I know what their progress looks like. So in a nutshell, that is the quick version of BI 360 reporting and a kind of a quick snapshot of the budgeting tool for BI 360, and I hope everyone enjoyed that today's session, and I'm going to turn it back over to Scott and Jason.
Thank you, Mike. Now, if anybody has any questions or would like a further look at BI 360, then of course you can get in touch with us. If anyone has questions right now, then please fire away on the Q&A section of WebEx.
All right, and thank you, Scott. Let's look for some questions now. One that's come in that you might not see here, but it's asking, how would you connect to a database like a Microsoft Dynamics database?
Okay, so the integration with BI 360 is out of the box. So basically what would happen is, depending on the application they're using, you would install BI 360, you would install the appropriate integration package, then that would go out and directly query your Dynamics database. So you'll notice when you saw the Excel report designer earlier that Mike showed, down the left-hand side, you saw all the various modules, such as general ledger, sales, etc. All of those modules would come directly from your Dynamics ERP system, and then you would be able to report off them using the drag and drop design tool.
And I can add a little bit to that as well. So so aside from the connectors, it's really going to also depend on the deployment type that you have. So if you are using, let's say, Dynamics 365 in the Azure cloud, you're going to use a connector. You're going to be inside of Dynamics, and you're going to define what data that you want for the purpose of reporting and budgeting to come out of Dynamics 365. That is basically a simple, you go through and you checkbox what module, what dimensions, what attributes of data, and then you say run it, and it takes our connector, which is a wizard-driven connector, and it brings that data into the data warehouse. And then if you also had disparate data, you could use a variety of the different connectors that we have there to bring that data in. Let's just say that you had an external payroll system that you wanted. If we don't have a connector, you can use a SQL connector, an OData connector, a CSV connector, lots of different types of connectors. That's really about more the public cloud side of things. If you're an on-premise user and you use BI 360, you can also do live integrations, which Scott talked about earlier. Those are meta integrations that we have to a good percentage of the Dynamics products that are out there today. And we have 20 years of history in writing integrations for the Dynamics products. They're pretty extensive. So live integrations, you post a transaction in Dynamics, it immediately shows up within a report run in BI 360.
All right. Well, let's make a final call for questions. I don't see any others right now. For anyone who might have missed part of the session, we did record it, and we will be providing that very shortly to you. We also have a very brief survey that will pop up as you leave today. Any feedback you can leave would be appreciated. And with that, I think we can begin to wrap things up. So Scott, Mike, thank you both for taking the time today to present to us.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, everybody, for joining.